So, ladies and gentlemen, Rick Ferguson, the most important person in the security world.
In this room.
And in the security world. So, Rick, I've mentioned that for you, that in Poland we have this game called
Data center attacks.
Data center attacks. And it's about securing a hospital.
Yeah, that was the scenario that we chose. The point behind the game, when we were first coming up with, because it was the second game that we'd made, when we were coming up with the idea, it was about how do we educate security professionals about not only security policies and procedures and decisions, but also the fact that relationships are important.
Yeah.
How security and operations need to work together and not work as adversaries, because very often security says no, and ops says, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And actually in that game, if you make yourself have an adversarial relationship with ops, you will fail, you will not win the game.
Yeah. I failed so many times. You know.
There's an incredible amount of outcomes. So the idea behind the game, if you haven't played it, is you get to watch a part of the action pauses, then you make a decision, and the action continues based on the decision that you made, and there are many, many decisions. And it was actually based on, when I was a kid, I used to read those choose your own adventure books, where you would read a paragraph and then you make a decision. Like if you go east, turn to page 24. If you pick up the sword, go to page 76. And every time you read the book, it was a different story. But what it did was it taught you the consequences of your own actions in a safe environment. And one of the most important things you can do when it comes to training people about security is give them a safe space to mess up in.
Yeah.
So because one of the problems with security professionals, and I think like any other industry, is that everybody, even with insurance, everyone says, well, I don't need insurance for my house because it's never going to catch fire. That always happens to somebody else's house. And it's not until your house catches fire that you go, damn, I wish I had insurance. So we wanted to create an experience which would allow you to be in the driving seat, make all the decisions, and find out, as a result of your decisions, whether you end up in trouble or not. And that was kind of the reasoning behind those games.
Amazing. So, link below to play that.
And we film everything in Warsaw, by the way. These are made in Poland films.
So, Rick is Polish. So.
Cześć.
So, Rick, I was yesterday on your session about ransomware.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, crazy shit. You know, so I've heard about this ransomware on servers and PCs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you talked about ransomware on IoT devices, on artificial intelligence. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it's looking at where, because it's important within the world of security. If you're a security provider trying to help people, it's important to always be looking forwards. It's no good to only solve yesterday's problems. You've got to try and anticipate what will be the attack vectors of the future, what is the attack surface of the future, what kinds of technologies will be at risk, and in what way, what will the attacks look like. Ransomware is well established. It's been around since I think 1989 was the first ransomware we ever saw. It was delivered on a 5.25-inch floppy disk to hospitals and medical research institutions. It's a very interesting story if you want to go and find out about Dr. Joseph L. Pop, who was the person who wrote the first ever ransomware. And it's been innovated on and developed and stuff over time since then. And then we saw the birth of crypto ransomware that was encrypting files and demanding ransom for the decryption keys and so on. And then this year, obviously, we've seen the success, if you want to call it that, of WannaCry and NotPetya in terms of wormable capabilities, so learning from ransomware and malware capabilities of the past, adding it into ransomware and making it even more destructive. And we have to look forwards to what does it mean for the future. So, IoT devices very often are based on a common operating system. How do you extort money in those kinds of environments? The example I gave yesterday was of smart TV. So you've paid for premium content on your smart TV. It's the live
McGregor, Mayweather fight.
And you know that it's live and you stayed up till 3 in the morning because you want to watch it live, and then 5 minutes before it's due to start, your smart TV switches to a message that says, hey, we know you've already paid for this, but if you really want to watch it, you've got to pay again. It's a massive lever. It's a big social engineering lever. It's time pressure. You've got 5 minutes to decide. You're going to make the call and say, well, okay, I really want to watch it. Those capabilities exist. We've already seen ransomware on mobile devices, not crypto ransomware, ransomware.
It will happen.
And we expect to see crypto ransomware within the next 12 months on mobile devices without question. And I don't know about you, but my smart TV at home is based on Android. You see that when you boot it up. So if it's possible on a mobile device, it's possible on your always connected smart TV. What about your car? Like I can pick up my mobile phone right now and open an app and find out where my car is and whether it's locked or not. So it's always connected, always reporting. Ransomware in a vehicle. You walk out one morning and you can't open the doors, but you can look at the screen inside and there's a message that says if you ever want to drive your car again, what are you going to do? You can't get in, you can't drive it, you can't take it to a garage. Maybe you don't have any choice. And then you kind of extrapolate out from there and start talking about, well, IoT is not just consumer, IoT is already deeply embedded in the everyday world today, whether it's medical technology, agriculture, logistics, smart transport, smart cities, smart nations even. Singapore calls itself a smart nation because it's embedding technology everywhere. What are the possibilities if you can hold a production system to ransom? Every second or every millisecond that the production line is out of action is costing the business money. And the longer that stoppage goes on for, the more the temptation is going to be to pay the ransom. That's why cyber criminals but diversified from targeting only individual consumers, encrypting their music files and their office documents and photos, but started going after businesses and encrypting database files and files for hosting websites, because they knew they could ask for a bigger sum of money and they were more likely to get that ransom.
Scary, extremely.
It's scary, but it's important. I mean, it's really easy in the security industry to talk about threats and to talk about the potential negative outcomes. But the reason we have those conversations is because it does allow us to anticipate and build the appropriate technology for the future. The future is not, by definition, a dark place. And actually, I think we're at a real tipping point right now, particularly when it comes to IoT, where we do have an opportunity to influence manufacturers and to influence regulation and legislation to create an environment where it is obligatory, a legal requirement or a regulatory requirement to build secure, connected things, whatever those things are. Let's have a framework in place that says this is a European standard. Here are the basic security checklists for development that you have to meet. Must have encryption of traffic as it goes over the network. Must have technology in place for anti-replay attacks. Must be patchable and manageable from an external source. Let's work these out as an industry and get a regulation in place. If you want to buy a rechargeable battery in Europe right now, if it doesn't have a certain stamp on it, you won't be buying it in Europe because you're not allowed to sell it. Let's have that around technology as well.
So, but standards are okay, but you are head of research, vice president of research in Trend Micro, and so I must ask, so what is Trend Micro doing?
With IoT, we're doing a number of things. It's obviously, like I said, it's important within the security, particularly security vendor industry, to be forward-looking. And actually, Trend Micro has a long history of being forward-looking and doing stuff first, even before it was necessary. So we were the first people to get security onto the mail server off the endpoint. We were the first people to move security to the network gateway in terms of web and email scanning in the network gateway, because we saw that's where the threats were going. We were the first people to move security into cloud environments with purpose-designed stuff for cloud and virtualization. And we are proactively working on IoT stuff as well. So, and that doesn't mean this is slideware or vaporware. This is stuff we have already developed, which is in what we call incubation. So it's with particular customers in particular geographies while we continue to design and refine and then go to market afterwards. One of the things we've got, for example, is the security SDK. So we'll provide that software development kit to other manufacturers to help them to build more secure devices, whether it's a car or a washing machine. It's a security SDK which can be applied.
That's an amazing idea,
So we have that.
I was thinking because these devices are different. So every single vendor are using quite different operating system, and
and they have their own areas of expertise, and they have their own business focuses. So it's about giving them the tools to be able to do security successfully. A washing machine company is really good at making washing machines, hopefully, but they're not necessarily really good at security. So we need to enable and empower them to benefit from our decades of expertise in security. The other stuff that we're doing, for example, is around visibility and control. A lot of the discomfort around security comes from the fact that you feel you lose control And actually that's been a lot of the problem with cloud. As people move more towards cloud environments, they lose control of the lower part of the stack, whether it's the network infrastructure, the server infrastructure,
storage,
or the storage or the operating system layer. It used to be the time when you could stand in the data center and go, that's my HR database, that's my finance database, that's my R&D, and those are the cables that link them, and here's my firewall, and it's all good. When you go to cloud, you lose that control. You outsource control, but you cannot outsource accountability. That you're legally accountable for that stuff, no matter who you've outsourced control to. So to decrease that discomfort, to make people feel more comfortable and have more influence, it's about visibility and control. And in IoT, that's even more essential. So organizations and even home users need to be able to identify what's on the network, what vulnerabilities exist, and what mitigating controls can I put in place. If I can't patch my light bulb, or I can't patch my industrial robot, and I can't install any security software on there, but I know these vulnerabilities exist, here are the mitigations I can put in place on the network. So in Australia, for example, you can already buy Trend Micro's, I think it's called Diamond Box. And it's only in Australia, but it's a home device about this big, which gives you visibility and control of all of your IoT devices in the home. It will tell you what you've got, where it is, what vulnerabilities exist, and what you should or shouldn't be worried about, and will attempt to mitigate in-line exploitation attempts against that stuff. And we have a similar technology aimed at the enterprise as well, which is already in existence, but not on general sale. So yeah, actively working.
We should wait a little bit.
Actively working on that area. Yeah, you've got to get it right. I mean, that's the criticism of IoT, isn't it? That the driver for the people that make this stuff is to be first to market, have a product, get out there, capture the market, create the market, and security comes afterwards. We're a security vendor, we're not going to do it that way. We've got to make sure that we get it right and then go to market.
Understand. So, Rick, thank you so much for the interview. Dziękuję.
Dziękuję bardzo.
Dziękuję.
Do zobaczenia.
Do zobaczenia. Thank you.
Done. My Polish came in handy.
A little bit.